Well, one, I don't accept the pretense that that was my first response because it wasn't. Um, and if we're going to say when I found what I found, um, we
Let the
might
guild
need
know what it is.
to go into what that was a little bit. But
And my understanding of what you guys are discussing related to user access privileges being
it's
retained, and basically a misperception that privileges might have been adjusted in a certain way that would be
Well, let's
dubious.
well, let's can we explain what happened so the whole guild knows, because a lot of the guild doesn't know what happened.
Yeah, and I think that you were directly involved, so I would love to
Well,
get your feedback.
there's going to be different perspectives on what happened too, though.
Which is important to that we basically see it how everyone saw the situation. So Gummy,
Yeah.
why don't we start off with your reception of the events that occurred, and then again, I wouldn't call it rebutting, but if we can think about how other people saw it, that'd be helpful.
Well, I'm actually just here to answer questions. So, I guess,
well, you're not just answering questions though.
well, Parabus asked me
So
a question, so I'm answering it.
what happened before that? I mean, let's be fair, right? You asked a question to me, so you're not just here to answer questions. So that's not fair to say.
And again, if you're uncomfortable having the dialogue, that's perfectly fine as well. I'm just trying to give people the opportunity to express what triggered them leaving.
Okay, Joe. Our last conversation, I understand that we are not friends anymore, so let's just take it easy and let's just get through this, okay?
Did I say that in our last conversation?
No, but you made it clear that it is. Let's just get through this, okay? It was. We are not. Yeah, let's just get through this now. Okay, so I was playing the game, and Joe brought me to a different TeamSpeak channel or something. He alerted me somehow. He told me that something had happened, and I was completely clueless on everything that was going on at the time, because I'm usually just playing the game by myself. Joe came to me and said that Kilth had demoted himself. And I also was not reading the forums. I had not read the original. Well, actually, I had briefly read the original forum that was it FWAP that had originally posted, fuck this and talking about the long queue times, something along that line where he had talked about the long queue times, and Matheon had said something like, within the post, yeah, everybody's gonna quit, but 2 weeks or whatever. And Kilth had then also replied in there that, hey, you guys need to stop that. This is a good game. It was not very polite either, but, it was one of those exciting threads that we've all been known to have.
Sure.
Anyway, so I didn't get a chance to read that thread. Joe had linked it to me, but he had said Kilth had demoted himself, and we need to. I need to get a council meeting put together ASAP because I'm the secretary. I need you to call people, and I think something has happened because I believe Kilth had done something to the security when he had demoted himself. And I was like, oh, really? Because I didn't really have much emotion. I was just basically like, okay, I'm the secretary. I've got who's the council member. So I had to get a hold of Kerp and Aramane and all of them. So between Joe and I, we got the council together, and they had a meeting. and I was there. I really don't know why I was there, but I was there.
In the capacity of secretary or something to that effect?
Yeah, but usually I'm not. So I really don't know why I was there, but I was there. Because usually the council meeting is just council members. So I attended the meeting, and Joe said that he was calling the meeting for a vote to kick Kilth out of the meeting because out of the guild, because he believes that it was kind of an HTED thing where the security of the forums has been jeopardized, and we don't really know what has happened at this point, but something fishy has happened.
Gotcha. And given some of the history with the HTED nonsense, it might have been an overreaction, but it isn't beyond
right.
reason.
We didn't quite know at that point. And so with the three guys talking, or actually it was the four guys, three council members and
Vintage
Joe.
was there as well.
Oh, and Vintage, correct. Yeah, we brought Vintage in as well, just as like another person.
Microphone activated.
And hi, Nuria. And so we had all those guys talking, and I was really just listening, but I may have said a couple of things, but I knew that I was not part of the vote or anything. And so Joe had kind of said, if you guys need to think about this, you guys can think about it. We don't have to jump on this. But then, the meeting lasted maybe about 45 minutes, going back and forth, talking about it. I think the guys were going to think about it, but then at the end, Joe was like, no, we do have to vote on this. And so then I was like, okay, so I guess we have to vote. And so I'm like, okay, so we're voting. So Aramane, what are you voting? And Aramane was going to vote, and he started talking, and Joe was like, well, is it yay or nay? And that's all that we're doing is yay or nay. And so Aramane voted yay. And then he's like, but I want to say something else besides that. And so Aramane voted yes, but then said, I would really like to talk to Kilth about this, blah, 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 blah. And then Kerp also voted yay, but then he also wanted to find out more about this as well. And then Matheon came up and voted, and he was very hesitant about the whole situation. But in the end, because we were forced to do the vote, he did end up voting yay as well. So that was 3 yays, which means that night they voted Kilth out of the guild. And we were all just kind of like, holy shit, this fucking just happened. Like, I can't believe this.
Who is we were all?
So that would have been Aramane, Kerp, Matheon, and you called the vote. Vintage was witness, and I was witness.
No, referring to you, I'm assuming your husband and a few other people were.
Well, my husband was not part of it. He was sitting in the room, but he was not in there.
No, that wasn't actually my reaction, though.
Well,
I'll
hang
let you
on.
finish.
Let her finish
That wasn't me, though.
her own narrative.
Yeah. But I mean, okay, but you were very hesitant. I'm not saying everybody was jumping to get Kilth out of the guild or anything. So anyway, we ended up voting him out, and everyone was just like, wow, okay, so we kicked him out. But nobody rushed to call him or anything. It took at least, it was the next day. Nobody really did anything because we were waiting to figure out, how do we end up doing this now that we have this vote. And so the next day we were all talking, and then Joe was into the website, and he was looking for stuff. That's when the rollback happened and all this stuff. And that's when we found out that
user disconnected from your channel.
Kilth might have not even done anything. And so then I was like, well, we need to have another council meeting then, because if he didn't actually do anything, then he probably shouldn't even be kicked out of the guild. So then we had another council meeting, and then we found out that Aramain and Kerp actually, that was the sole reason that they had voted him out. So then we got them to vote no, and well, I kind of persuaded them to vote no, and then we had kind of talked about the different reasons why, and that's where we can open up discussion again, all the different reasons why Kilth had kind of disappointed the council members throughout the years, and that was an H-Ted thing, and Vish had come up, and there was a couple different reasons why throughout the years that Kilth had really disappointed people, and that if it had been anybody else throughout the years that they probably would have been kicked out had it not been Kilth.
No, I understood, and obviously, relaying that information would have the exact result that it has, and
Right.
it's sad.
And so that's kind of how it was. And then Joe was supposed to write a note or something to Kilth, saying that he was kind of like on his last leg or something. And so that's kind of how the meeting ended. And so this is where everything kind of differs, where the council separated and where I took things into my own hands. And so this is where everyone else, where the council may be all pissed off at me, is I took what was from that meeting, and Joe never ended up writing anything to Kilth. And I had already decided, the minute they had a unanimous decision to kick Kilth out of the guild, I had already decided that I was leaving. And I hadn't told anybody but Dimitri. That night, I had kind of already said, that's it. No matter what else happens, I'm leaving. And just to get Kilth back into the guild, or him not kicked out, was just kind of like, well, that's kind of icing on the cake, but I already knew that I was leaving.
Sure. I get it. So it's more than just that event. It's just kind of, over time things deteriorated in a way that didn't make it fun for you, and that's completely understandable.
Right. Yeah. It had been throughout the year for me. Things had kind of escalated, and that was kind of the icing on the cake. That it's like, wow, that meeting really took place, and yeah, that was it for me.
Yeah, the one thing I would say is, it's difficult being in the room, and I'm saying this not from a guild perspective, but from a corporate governance perspective, when tough decisions and discussions need to occur. And I can understand that you probably felt compromised, having a personal friendship and having to listen to that.
But see, Joe said the same thing to me, and this foo is not a boardroom to me. It is not a corporate meeting. These are not corporate decisions that should be made. You do not do that to friends of 13 or 11 years.
I think you do, though. I think people do it all the time. They say, I'm done with that asshole. And then the next day, they get over it, they calm down, and they move along.
Yeah, and that's one of the things is, I think that the emotion from that built in a way that, took it beyond, again, I'm thinking about this from a third-party outsider perspective, and, it just all strikes me as horrifically petty in the grand scheme of things, but it's the type of bickering that you would honestly expect in a 10-plus year relationship. These types of things are going to occur, and it's sad that they do. The thing that really just kind of disappointed me about the group overall is that, just even in looking at the forums, it feels like a lot of the sense of humor from the group just has dissipated over time. And it's I'm curious, from a leadership perspective, George, what you guys are looking to do long term to figure out a way to keep things lighter.